first, best, pre-recorded. This is Galaxy Tonight, keeping your galaxy in focus, bringing you news from the extranet that you can trust. And here are your hosts, Karadris McCall and Chip Washington. Hi, I'm Chip Washington, and unfortunately Karadris McCall is still unavailable. He is in glorious Neo-Tokyo, practicing his telekinesis with Tetsuo and Tokyo drifting motorcycles with Godzilla, etc., etc. Unfortunately, we won't have any interviews for you this week, but we will hopefully get something good for you next time when things balance out with Karadris and when he'll be available for us to chat. But in the meantime, we'll go over the recent events that have been happening and go on to a section that I really enjoyed talking about at the end of the show. But anyway, Lou seems to finally have calmed down. The FNS Nevermore has not been shipped out into Lou to make things worth. Thankfully, that's, Lou, we can calm down about Lou, I think. And I think things are coming to a head now in regards to leadership on both sides of the Federation and the Empire. The federal side, Shadow President Hudson finally attacks President Halsey on a political front and promises that he will do a better job, and he's going to forcibly try to force her out of office. As I said last week, if you guys remember, that she will be forcibly pushed out of office, and I'm sure that this will happen, because it looks like he is getting some headway in regards to his agenda. And frankly, I'm not sure how much worse he can do if he takes over, because she was clearly unstable in one way or another. She was overreacting to absolutely everything. It was not good for any of us, for any of the federal pilots, and even for the people who want a little extra bread or credits on their table and in their wallet, of the independent systems where the Federation has rule. But I think she's going to be leaving soon, forcibly, and hopefully it'll all be paved over. All of her poor obvious decisions from recent events. Hopefully we could all forget about it and continue with our lives to bring a better and more prosperous federation. And unfortunately, also the Empire is kind of feeling the sting here of awkward leadership problems, because apparently Princess Arissa Lavini Duval's father, Hengist Duval, has been there was an attempted assassination attempt on the Emperor of the Empire. I'm not an imperial citizen, but I know that this is a problem for many reasons. And I know there's also the political struggle between Senator Petraeus and the other gentleman that unfortunately is escaping my memory. But as to who is behind it, we are not sure. I am not sure. But we do know that Princess Arissa has been calling for aid from Imperial pilots in finding out who could have done it by collecting bounties at the Faces, I believe, Faces in the Simpson Depot in Faces, excuse me. But unfortunately, you need to have a count rank with the Empire to even get into Faces. So everybody who's trying to help for whatever reason, unfortunately cannot. I'm actually trying to gain favor with the Empire so I can sport myself a little bit of that Imperial Clipper, unless I make enough money for a Python first. But it's kind of strange and scary as to all these leadership dilemmas happening as of late as well. All of these skirmishes, these small civil wars, and even larger wars that have been popping up left and right all over civilized space, and it's frankly kind of scary as to what's behind it. Is it just us, human nature? Is it the differences of our cultures of these two large empires, the Federation and these two large nations, the Federation and the Empire? And not to leave out the Alliance, but the Alliance is a collection of smaller cultures. I'm talking about the large ones, collectively. I hope you understand what I mean. I'm not trying to be offensive here for the Alliance. Actually, speaking of the Alliance, there is Lave. Lave is basically a bad neighborhood. It's a bad neighborhood. You can get Lavian brandy and a couple of other rare goods there, but it's like going to a bad neighborhood for that one drink you can't really get anywhere else, or snack, and you have to get in there because those pirates are gonna pluck you out of the sky and take your stuff, and sometimes just straight up shoot you if you don't reply at all. It's very unfortunate, but I'm still very concerned as to why this is all happening. Who caused the assassination, and why has President Halsey's actions been so erratic as of late? What's with all the skirmishes and civil wars that have been happening recently? Maybe it's a problem from a problem from within, or maybe it's an exterior stimulus that is applying all these dissonance between people. The political tension on every single front, not even between the Federation and the Empire, even within the Federation and within the Empire, is so tense, and it's terrifying as to what's going to happen. I'm feeling that at some point in the future there might be an all-out war. There's going to be not just little civil wars between small rivaling factions or some independent factions and systems who want to gain rather independence from their parent faction of either the Empire or the Federation. But depending on what happens in the next few days, what Shadow President Hudson decides to do, because he will absolutely become president, I can almost guarantee it. If Emperor Hengist passes away from complications because he's getting old, or if somebody tries to kill him again, he's, despite our lack of knowledge of his medical information, I'm sure everybody can attest to the fact that he's not doing very well. So he's going to be gone soon. As to who's going to take his throne, it looks like there's a couple of candidates there that can take it, and unfortunately, we just don't know enough about any of them to know what they're going to do. To know what they're going to do with the rest of the systems. Unfortunately, I don't really have much else to talk about. Just make sure everybody's careful flying around in Lave and all these systems that are having civil war, and be careful, because at some point in the future something bad is going to happen, and I'm kind of sure of it. And there's been an influx of pilots, as far as I remember, graduating from the Pilots Federation, getting their licenses, and swarming in with Sidewinders and civilized space. It's great to see more pilots coming out and populating our inhabited space. We need more forces out there, whether or not to help the economy or help the Empire or the Federation or the Alliance. But it's great to see everybody and all the new people coming out into space and joining us in the void. And again, I'm terribly sorry that there's not much else to talk about, but I think it's time to move on for another episode of Top Clutch. Let's bring it a little more of a lighter note with all these political issues and agendas popping up everywhere. Let's do something a little more calming and, something a little more uplifting. But do you like to go fast? I hope you do. Because today we're going to focus on making a racing ship. We're going to be looking at how you can kit out your least ugly core dynamic ship, the Eagle, into a hefty muscle racer. Now I hear you saying, Chip, why the Eagle? Why not the Cobra Mark III? Why not the Viper? Hell, why not even the Orca or the Clipper? Those are fast ships too. Well, listeners, there's a very simple answer to that. The Eagle is cheaper. The more complex answer is why we're doing the rest of the show in the first place. Now, a secondary contender to a racing vessel would definitely be the Viper, as it has a very high impulse speed and even higher boost speed than an Eagle. Even the Cobra is faster than the Eagle. Hell, I was surprised to look at the specs and find that the Orca is faster than the Eagle. But for the latter, you do need to have 50 million credits lying around, plus whatever you need to trick it out into a high-class passenger ship into a racing vessel. It's kind of expensive. Gosh, you crash into the side of a station 300 meters per second. That's not going to be fun. And that insurance premium, boy howdy. Well, let alone the fact that its maneuverability is that of a manatee. But on the other hand, you could just spend about $120,000 instead for the Eagle. That being said, the price for the Viper and the Cobra is not that of an Orca or the Clipper, but it is in fact still more than the Eagle. Shocking, I know. And if you can do a swell job with just a little bit of dosh, then your cash flow can still go to something useful, like Duval figurines and body pillows. Those kinds of things. Though the Viper is much faster than the Eagle as well, there are two factors besides the price that I would like to give the advantage to for the Eagle. It is smaller and it is more nimble. When going at high speeds and in and out of turns and rotating panels and structures of stations, a 5-degree pull of the stick can mean the difference between disaster and being able to win a race. And a 5-degree pull is very different in the Viper and in the Eagle. By far, I think it's unanimously decided by everyone and the Pilots Federation and all the statistics that we've ever researched that the Eagle is rated to have the highest maneuverability of any vessel as of yet. So in a tight-turned race, it is the victor between these two speed demons. But if you are going to have a long race with long straightaways and smooth turns in your racing track, follow this guide of tricking out your Eagle and just apply it to the Viper. Bam, you got a tricked out Viper too, though it is going to obviously cost a little bit more. Another thing I mentioned was the size of the ship. Though the Eagle is not hugely smaller than the Viper, it does help in being in tune with your vessel. The less you have to worry about the parts of your ship, the less you have to worry about what parts of your ship are where, then the more you can focus on making a turn 1 meter from hitting a corner rather than 10 meters. And, all of that time can be saved, and it could be very important in a tight race. Now, get yourself an Eagle. That'll run you about $45,000. Right away, you can sell the weapons on it, the cargo rack, the basic discovery scanner, and downgrade your fuel tank to 2 tons instead of standard 4. And you just saved yourself about 9,000 credits. Remember, this isn't supposed to be a jumping vessel, so you don't really need that much fuel anyway. Oh, and you just dropped the weight of the craft from 83.8 tons to 75.8. And if you remember from our last episode, making your ship lighter will let you travel farther. But in this case, it'll let you travel faster in impulse drive. So let's trim off some more fat. We will need to upgrade a few parts and downgrade a few other parts for this purpose. Now, let's upgrade the power plant to grade D, the thrusters to grade D, the life support and sensors also to grade D. Now, a nagging question pops up. Why not grade A for thrusters? Well, the impulse engines are quite powerful on this little ship, so upgrading it simply tunes the engines to provide more thrust for heavier vessels, meaning that the highest grade thrusters we can make a heavier ship. But our point here is to make the lightest, so it's unnecessary to have a grade A thrusters. The optimal mass for the grade D thrusters are 90 tons, and trust me, we'll be way below that. As of right now, the ship is only worth about 55,000 credits. Not bad. I mean, you barely spent any money as it is. Now let's throw on the best power distributor we can, grade A power distributor. That's going to run about 56,000 credits, more than the ship is right now. But that is fine. With the best power distributor, though it's a bit heavier than the grade D power distributor, lowering the speed tiny bit, the grade A one can provide us with more power in shorter intervals for our boosts. And frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's far greater to boost more often than to have a few meters per second in your regular impulse flight faster. Yes. Now, if you're flying your Eagle to the racetrack, you may want to grab your larger fuel tank and downgrade it and the next part when you arrive in the system you'll be racing in. Otherwise, if you're having it towed or delivered to the track, don't worry about downgrading when you get there. You can just do it right away and not even bother getting a larger fuel tank. Like I said, this is just for the travel. Anyway, downgrade your frameshift drive all the way down to a Class 2 grade D. As I've said before, you'll be racing this vessel in impulse drive, so your frameshift drive is completely unnecessary for this build. But if you can't have it as a Class 2, just make sure your FSD is grade D regardless. Now, looky that. Your ship is now only 65 tons and costs a relatively meager 110 credits, not including the credits you get back for selling your old equipment. But, wait, what is that internal component? Is that a shield generator? What the hell? Only filthy casuals race with shield generators. Get on my level. Go. Sell that thing. Bam! Drop the tonnage to only 60, and it dropped the price to down only 104,000 credits. Now, you're flying like a champ. But if you are flying more like a filthy casual as opposed to a champ, then you may find the lack of a shield generator rather problematic. But one quickly learns when they're confronted with loan sharks knocking on their door about all those insurance premiums. Oh, but what's that? You don't want to die? Oh, well, I suppose if you must have a shield generator, like always, just make sure it's a grade D. You can fit a smaller class generator, but even though we trimmed all of the fat off the ship, the smaller class generators can't effectively cover the ship properly, so there won't be any point in having it anyway. Besides, a class 3 grade D generator is only 2 tons, so that's not too bad. Though its price of 18 grand will bring our total to 122,000 credits. So get out there, see what top speeds you can reach in your speed machine. Let us know how you fare in some races. Just make sure you don't get fined, and be careful out there, lads. If you have any questions for us to answer, leave us a comment, and remember to be compelled to travel at high velocities, so I can continue shilling for the insurance companies. This has been Chip Washington, Galaxy Tonight.